I'm Sean Lazika.
I'm a Johnny McKenty.
I'm Alexis Bryant.
And I'm Savannah Owen.
And it's one day before the end of high school, and we're going to talk about literary circles with y'all today.
Yeah.
So literary circles was an amazing experience for all of us who took it, who were actually there. I actually missed the first week and then started off, but then I caught up right away because of the amazing book I had was Where the Crawdads Sing. But the literary circles gave us insight of both technology and in person and making new connections. And it was overall an amazing experience for all of us. Johnny.
So I read The Purple Hibiscus. It was a great book. It was really eye-opening to see some of the things that I saw in there. And I really liked the structure of the way it was laid out in the digital notebook. It was a way to connect with our peers through multiple assignments, multiple worksheets and stuff like that. So it was a great tool to just connect and see what everybody else thought about the book and connect it to even other books, because we also had writings about that, and it was a joy to work with. And it was right after Christmas break, so it was getting back into the school swing of things. So it was really nice.
So a shared opinion that we all had, or just like an experience, is that we hadn't touched books in like forever. Because with all the schoolwork that was piling up, AP classes and whatnot, we just didn't have the time to like read. So this gave us just set some time aside for us to read. And once you got into the books, I got The Handmaid's Tale. It got really good. It's just, it was a lot of emotions all in one. Like sometimes you want to just give up and not read the book because it just made you so disappointed. Like, hey, Handmaid's Tale. But you know what? It was still, I would recommend the book to anyone. It's just, you got to be ready for the trip. Because it definitely was.
Books are definitely a trip.
That's what I'm saying.
So I agree with Alexis. I have not really read or like touched a book in a long time. So I read If I Stay, which it was a really good book. It's hard for me to find a good book, and I really got into it whenever I started reading it. It was just me and one more person, and it was cool to like see how she interpreted it versus how I was seeing things.
The literary circles, it wasn't like schoolwork. It was like read a book, it was like a book club almost with your friends, but you had to do schoolwork on top of it. But it made the schoolwork more bearable and more fun. And you got to read an amazing book with your classmates and actually enjoy a book for the first time and not just get given a book and told to read it and then answer some questions and you had no idea.
And we also had like a choice of books, whereas like in the past years, our teachers had an assigned book that we all had to read at one time.
We chose between 6 different books, and we got to like sample all of them, watch book trailers.
So like The Handmaid's Tale.
And we all had discussion posts and
has a picture of the book, and then it has like a little book trailer. What else is there?
Go ahead and show each component.
You make like the trailer.
like the discussion
Not at the,
posts.
yeah, not at, yeah.
So we have the discussion posts. We did tone, character analysis, and interpretation, and
Click the tone.
tone.
So they can see the student.
Do you relate to the character?
So talk about how you first maybe didn't answer, in length, and then as you got along the book, you kind of, I noticed the post got more in depth.
It shows the interest in coming back into school. So at first nobody wanted to do it because we all felt like it was
after Christmas break,
But then once we started reading the book and realizing like it was good and trying because it was worth it.
And some books just take a minute.
It does. It have like a slow build up.
Like Where the Crawdads Sing, especially.
Some books take a minute.
Like as you can see, like some are like really
In depth.
like vague, while some are like in depth and like more
For me,
thought put into it.
For me, I started and I kind of was like, okay, well, I kind of have to read till page 50 this week, and then I was kind of like, it went from like a chore to like,
Very
I remember one day I was just in my bed just
I got to the
read
point where
it.
like I didn't want to put the book down.
But
I
yeah,
want to finish it
definitely.
for class.
Exactly.
And I finished like 2 days,
I
2
started-
weeks before the book was due.
I started reading during Gotta Keep Reading. Whenever she was like, all right, let's put it up. I was like,
I
Sorry,
got one
Matilda.
good part, and then
Exactly.
And then, if you could show the notebook tab.
In the
so this is part of the Handmaid's Tale of the notebook. So we have like who was in the group and like why they chose the book they wanted to read, and then we did vocabulary. Was it 2 words a week?
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
did 2 words a week, and you could see like words that your peers had put. So like if you had like the same question or like didn't know the same word, like you could go look at what someone else had said, and it's for every single book.
So how do you feel that this, do you feel that this project helped you with your AP test, your AP exam?
yeah,
Oh, most definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
How so?
because all these could have been on like the test. Like there's a
The
bad
Question 3?
The
Yeah.
open.
Like not open-ended, but like you pick a
The
book
free
that you
response
read.
question? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's question 3.
Yeah.
Any one of these books could have been on it because they're all literary.
I totally used the
There
Handmaid's
was
Tale.
there was like a
Oh, I
list.
really did.
There was like a list on question 3, and I saw purple hibiscus, and I was like,
Yeah.
yes, that's the one. That's the one.
And even if you didn't read it, you still talked about it with all your classmates too, and you still have a little bit of knowledge that maybe can help you out.
And these are books that like you could see a list of books, and you could be like, I haven't read any of these. But if you're like introduced to a program like this, it broadens your
Yeah.
horizon.
We
You
knew
get
for a
access
fact like
to
we'd
it.
at least have one book to write
Mhm.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas like you don't just go into the test and you're like, I have not read a book
Exactly,
that I can
yeah.
write about.
Exactly.
So, Johnny, you talked about, when we first started this conversation, about making connections. Can you tell us more specifics about the connections that you made?
Well, the
Or you can talk about that. 'Cause- So, I think Savannah, you might have mentioned a little bit about it too, but go ahead.
There was about specific aspects of the book, you could say, like when we have the discussion posts, there would be like a certain question you could be like, oh well, this character relates to me, like the main character can be Lee who relates to me, and then you can have somebody that can have a similar post, and we could be like, oh my god, it's so similar, and like we're on the same wavelength, and we could just like, it's kind of like a bond. It's like we're like doing this together.
And it helps you
quiet
connect the books together.
Yeah. I mean, you would also see like common themes in like other books, and so like well, now that I found out that Gatsby is really like class and society, you could also put that with The Handmaid's Tale with just like the class and society. So it's just like these are themes that you can see through a lot of books, and so you could just take the book that you read and then like connect it to another one.
Especially after watching a show about it,
Yeah.
right?
Alexis, you talked about what you described about getting back into feeling comfortable with books, made me think that you get to feel what it's like to be a reader again.
Yeah.
Could y'all want to talk more about what that felt like to be a reader again? You talked about a little bit of Johnny, but anybody else? Or Johnny?
So being able to read a book again without technology and a cell phone in your hand is an amazing feeling. You actually feel like you get away from everything. You get an isolation. So I have a story to tell. So I work at a barbecue restaurant, and I was waiting for somebody. So I sat there and I read Where the Crawdad Sing for 2.5 hours, just sitting there until they closed. And it was just amazing. I just sat there and read a book for the first time. I haven't read a book like that in maybe 6 months, and I legitimately enjoyed a book. And it just helped me out. It helped me like keep reading again and start helping my writing, and it overall just helps me out a lot.
Cause COVID was rough, as y'all may know. COVID was rough, and we was all swiping digital, and it was just a break, you know. It was like I'm reading a book, and it wasn't even necessarily just like you're reading something that's digital. It's like paper copy, like hardcover. Just back to what we did
with,
before.
Like Sean, like I had not touched a book in forever. Like during Gotta Keep Reading, I would honestly just sit there and just stare at the words and like not read, not comprehend. But then we started the lit circles, and then like I was reading, and I like got into it, and now during Gotta Keep Reading, I like can enjoy a book.
Yeah.
So
See, there's a
made me want to read because I don't know.
There's a difference between being forced to read a book and actually reading a
Yeah.
book
Yeah.
for like.
I felt like it was more
Enjoyment.
like a willing thing with this. Like, I didn't feel like
Yeah.
I was being forced to read a book, even though I kind of was, but like I didn't
But you-
feel like I
It,
was.
Yeah.
it wasn't more like
You
forced,
forgot.
it was like a structure, because I feel like if there wasn't a structure,
It wouldn't
I would not have finished the
Yeah.
book. Because there are many times where I was like, this is enough. I don't like where this is going, so I'm just not gonna read it. But then I was like, gotta finish the 50 pages. So, but then I, of course, go past that and realize, oh my gosh, it's actually getting
Get
really
stuck.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of the quiz with it. She filibustered.
Oh yeah, I just did like a
Last
filibuster on The Handmaid's Tale.
In which class?
AP Government.
So and use it for different classes.
Exactly.
It's not just the English thing.
So Johnny, you talked about the digital lit circles being able to see similarities between you and someone else. But Savannah, you talked a little bit about seeing things through someone else's lens, like seeing maybe the differences, which is a good thing, right? You want to tell us more about that?
So like for me, I connected with the main character in my book because she lost her whole family. I didn't lose my whole family, but I did lose my dad. So like I kind of know what that feels like, not to lose my brother and my mom and my dad, but whereas my friend, she doesn't have that like feeling, like not experience, not like woo experience, but like experience. So like her connection with someone was different than mine was. Like she connected to the main girl and like the way that she acts and like the things that she's into, whereas I connected more like emotionally with her. So I could like see a difference between.
Anyone else? Okay. The last question I had was, Sean, you talked about the way you described the process, and all of you did. Was it like it was an authentic reading experience? It wasn't like you said forced, or it wasn't required. It felt more authentic. And is that something that you think that kids need more chances
Oh,
to? Y'all want to talk about that?
100%. The fact that kids are so structured into like getting assigned reading things, it makes people not want to read. It makes high schoolers not want to read. So when you get something so pure in choices, it gives you the opportunity to expand your reading and to allow new opportunities for yourself rather than getting forced into one book. You have 6 books you can read, and if you don't like one book, I guarantee you can change it, and then you maybe find one that fits your reading style. And that's something high schoolers need more of, is being able to change and to allow more structure, but for more freedom too, to allow us with choices so we can have better reading situations. Honestly.
I think it just doesn't have to be limited to kids. I think everyone should take some time out of their day and maybe just set aside for reading. Just
At least
reading.
15 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
just sit there.
Yeah.
It's just like an escape, just like a little relaxation. You don't have to think about anything else, or you shouldn't at least. Like just let yourself go and just go fully into this book. Just forget about oh, I have to do this for work, or oh my gosh, I have to pay this off, or God knows what else, right? But it's just, I think people should take more time to just read, because for me at least, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have to worry about anything else. Like maybe I had a bad day, and then the book, then I'm like, oh my gosh, I forget completely about my bad day, because I'm just like, did that really just happen in the book? No.
You gotta keep reading helps a lot.
Exactly.
So in high, y'all have all been here since your freshman year, right?
Yes.
So if you had this experience and this opportunity your freshman year, how do you think your experience would have been if you had it had this experience every year?
I feel like I would have been more like, I was engaged in class, but like with the readings, I never really wanted to read them because it was more like a forced thing.
Yeah.
And like the books weren't the most like enjoyable thing, whereas this, like you could pick a book where you want it. So I feel like if we could have like started this freshman year, I would have been like more active with the reading that we had to do, whereas I would just kind of read what
Go
we
through
read
the
in
motions.
class and kind of hope for the best.
Yeah.
We would have been way better readers, in my opinion.
Yes.
I think we all would have.
And taking advantage of the 15-minute gotta keep reading.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, Dr. Smith's whole schedule, the whole master schedule is pretty much built around, that's,
Got it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Fits.
it's non-negotiable, like it's that's built in there, and y'all are so fortunate, the students here are so fortunate to have that block of time.
I think that should be a statewide, nationwide type of thing too.
Yeah.
Gotta keep reading.
But I mean, like,
it's very beneficial.
if we would have started freshman year, I can just only imagine how many like books I would have like kind of like up my sleeve. It's like to write about or just like comparison. It just added knowledge.
And then you have like those people that are like avid readers and like just read and like you hear them talk about books and you're like, yeah, but you really
And you
haven't read
don't
the
know,
book,
yeah.
so you don't like know. But
I just remember when the project was over, I was like, oh man, they're not gonna come in on Mondays and Fridays anymore. Like, it was such a good experience for us too.
it was also nice to like get out of the classroom and come in the library for
Yeah,
a different
that was a-
environment
that
and be
was
able to
nice.
pick a spot to read and like get comfortable.
Thank y'all so much.
You're welcome.
No problem.